Thank you very much. On the sidelines of the Buy Local Summit and Expo here in Sandton, outside a peaceful walk is taking place, being hosted by prominent designers who are against the killing of local brands by people who buy fake goods, people who produce fake goods. I don't need to tell you about the impact that has on their businesses, the impact that has on what they're trying to do, and certainly the impact that it has on the messaging that's happening inside of growing the economy through localization. I have next to me a face that most people in South Africa know, David Tlale, who's a well-known fashion designer, and he will tell us about the impact and why they are here outside and what kind of message are they trying to convey. David, thank you so much and welcome to SABC News. Tell me about this peaceful walk that's outside. You are flanked by other designers that are well known. Tell me about what spurred this on.
The purpose of this march is to bring awareness of our dying industry. The clothing and textile industry is slowly just approaching its death, especially because we believe that our government is not protecting us as creatives, as entrepreneurs, because as we speak, over 70,000 jobs in the clothing and textile industry have been lost, and nothing's being done about that. Factories have been closed down. Skills are slowly dying, and slowly we are appreciating all the imports from the East and everything else, whereas we, the people on the ground, are actually suffering. Designers that are trying to be entrepreneurs here in the country are suffering on a daily basis because of counterfeit, cheap clothing, and also like factories that have been closed for years. I mean, we talk about one amazing factory in Cape Town, House of Monatic, used to employ over 500 people at a time, and that factory is gone, it's no more. And now what are we saying is that what is our government helping us with so that we can be able to reignite this economic force, which is the clothing and textile industry.
When you speak to South Africans, more often than not, they'll tell you about the cost implication of buying local. But of course, there is business costs, operational costs that go into making each and every garment. But how do we begin to educate people who are watching us today about the implications of buying localized?
When you buy local, it's just basic common sense. I'm speaking as David Tlale. I'm speaking in terms of Makosa. The amount of people that we employ on a daily basis. When you buy from us, you're saying continue doing what you're doing because you're employing our families and our families are able to take our children to school. But if you don't support us as local designers, what happens? It says shut down and then keep on just like doing whatever you can. But more than anything else, as the public of South Africans, we need to be educated to understand that local is right. And now that because over 21 years, 30 years, the clothing and textile industry has improved, it's very important that we support it. We cannot afford seeing factories being closed. We cannot afford seeing shops being closed because of price point, because of things that don't really matter. What matters is that we need to keep the doors open on a daily basis.
What have you said to government? Have you had a talk with the Department of Trade and Industry, for instance, to relay the same message, and what would you like them to do?
I think the most important thing is that within the Trade and Industry Department, it's very important that we start having these engagements and these conversations, because we look at our tariffs of imports, exports. When we try to do things on the ground, these tariffs are like shocking. And then over and above that, it's very important that we start having these conversations with people that understand the clothing and textile industry, because I feel most of the time there are people that are appointed to run the clothing and textile industry. They don't understand our struggles. They don't know what we go through on a daily basis to keep our lights on. So it's very important that we meet up with the minister or whoever is running our clothing and textile industry. When we ask simple questions, do they know where do I operate? They don't. Do they know where Makosa operates? They don't. Do they know where the small seamstresses in the townships, how they operate and what their needs are? They don't, because all we have to do when you're applying for funding or anything, you supply you submit your documentation, and someone who has no idea of what you do or how you operate is got the power to say no. Your application has not been successful. And then, but when you come to realize, do these people know why I'm applying for this funding? Do they understand why I'm applying to expand? And I'm not only talking about me, I'm talking about many other entrepreneurs, because as entrepreneurs in South Africa, we operate in small entities, and in terms of factories that are small, and some of them they are like employing 5 people. But when you think about, if all of us come together as an industry and have a voice that changes that industry, it's going to be impactful. So it's very important that, yes, the country is moving forward, everything else is moving forward, but we need to bring back employment, and especially in the clothing and textile industry.
I know you're keen to join your colleagues here, but speak to South Africans. Tell South Africans how and why they should. And I'll ask, while you're there, I'll ask Themba Jobodi, my colleague, to follow the strike there while you talk to us there.
So it's very important that as South Africans, as a public, as a nation, we support one another. It's important to realize the impact that we have when we buy counterfeit, when we buy cheap clothing. And it's very important that we take a stand. We say to all local brands, black, white, colored, Indian, let's come together and let's build this nation again for what it can do.
David, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. As that strike continues around the streets of Sandton, there he has said it. As a person that is in this industry, he's elaborated about how not buying local and opting more for lookalikes, how that impacts on the industry and the jobs and everything that goes with it. With that, I'll hand over back in studio.
Liabo Setho there for us in conversation with fashion designer and creative David Tlale.